Hello, YouTube. About a month ago, I was diagnosed with Polycythemia Vera, which was a mixed bag. I was having migraines and leg pain that was keeping me up at night, and I'd have to go to the hospital oftentimes because the pain was too much to sleep and the Advil wasn't doing anything. It took 2 years to really figure out what was going on with me. And I'm happy now to understand that there is a reason for everything that's been going wrong with me this past year, 2 years. It's been really scary. But at the same time, I practice a lot of meditation, and I've been doing Tai Chi and Qigong for a long time. And so I have a very healthy mindset. I guess I have that privilege. I'm looking at a terminal disease here. Basically, my blood is going to keep proliferating. It's a myeloproliferative disorder is what it's called, where a phosphate signal is getting misunderstood in the connection between the process where I'm creating more red blood cells than I need to be. And it sounds like I could take chemotherapy drugs that will help with that phosphate signal, but only temporarily. It sounds like there's about a 15-year average lifespan for anyone with this diagnosis. And I've joined a Facebook group, which is wonderful for people with Polycythemia Vera. And I found there's nobody on there who's really lived more than 15 years who's chatting. For the vast majority of the group, there are a couple people who've been diagnosed with Polycythemia Vera for 20 years and are still kicking, which is amazing to see, but they're extremely rare. And so they don't chat as much, and you don't really hear from anybody at the 30-year mark. They're just, it's weird. It's almost like the metaphor is not sweeping it under the rug as much as I think our society thinks about death, kind of the way we think about trash, where we just bag it up and discard it. And I feel something similar to that going on with the Polycythemia Vera crowd, where people who have died are just not spoken about. Like, there's a lot of questions being asked in this forum, and not many people are actually asking about who's died recently or what's that like. I don't want to be the first to ask it either, because there's a lot of people who are just acclimating to their grief. And so I decided I'm going to start this YouTube channel on my quest to cure Polycythemia Vera for myself. I hear it can't be cured. I hear I have about 15 years left, and that in about 10 years, the disease is going to progress greatly into a couple of other more advanced conditions, and then I die. But I'm not going to accept that, because I've been a very unique person throughout my life. I don't know many people who have had the privileges that I have had in terms of coming across meditation. My piano teacher just happened to study meditation and give that gift to me when I was 15, to practice Tai Chi, to come in touch with a lot of the enlightened masters from all the traditions around the world and read their books. So from a young age, I've really been ingesting this stuff, getting in touch with my energy bodies. So that puts me in a very unique position, I think, with Polycythemia Vera, in that I've been doing 2 hours of Qigong every morning, Yi Jin Jing, standing tree, the golden brocades, the 8 golden brocades. I've been able to circle my microcosmic orbit for years, and converting the Qi energy into Jing energy through the bone condensing technique, which was mentioned in the classics, and then circulating it with the Shen energy from my crown. These are things that are not new to me, and yet I have Polycythemia Vera. So it helps me, I feel like, because of my uniqueness in this regard, and the privilege I've had to really be able to dial in maybe to possible cures, because we already know that this meditation, this energy, is not the whole story, right? Also diet. I've been intermittent fasting. I've had an amazing diet. I've focused on alkaline diet for a very long time. I started with really getting heavily into kale and then playing around with microbiome stuff in my gut to increase my flora. And I dialed back all of the multivitamins once I realized that, multivitamins, I guess I won't go into it now, but it's really helpful to know what vitamin you're deficient in before taking a vitamin to target that area and to instead look first towards diet. So here I am, a person with a positive mindset, a positive outlook. I'm an expert. I think you could say I'm an expert at this point in energy practices. And I have an amazing diet, and I've had an amazing diet. So how could I have PV? Might be a question we'll figure out in the end. But really, how do we go about curing PV is a question that I think I am, uniquely positioned to explore. I've thought about this. I've had PV in my awareness for 2 months now, and I've been thinking, what could it be if not diet and meditation, And I think that I have a good hypothesis, and I want this YouTube channel to follow my explorations on this hypothesis. And here's what it is. I've always been a little bit gung-ho to where I will push it a little too much when it comes to splurging with food, when it comes to exercising, when it comes to drinking. People have always said I'm hot and cold. And here's what I'm thinking. I think that I prepare my body for this base level of conditioning, but then I injure myself and I lose that conditioning of fitness. But then when I get back into the fitness, I just jump right back to the level where I was at before, right? Or when I was doing keto and the intermittent fasting, sometimes I would jump straight into the full keto diet without actually getting my body to a state where I was making ketones. I think that sometimes I'd go long stretches without having any alcohol, and then I'd have suddenly 8 beers when I'm out with my friends, right? So there's this idea of thinking that I'm prepared to take on these extremes that I'm pushing myself to here and there, and then not really actually being prepared after I get knocked off with sickness or whatever. I just jump back onto that level where I was at before. And so that's my hypothesis. I'd love to test it out. I think what I'm going to need to do is have a diet that is never verging into extremes, right? That's what we'll call it. We'll call it extremes is my hypothesis. And I need to counter that with an approach that takes into account building out of my my outlook and my mindset of positivity to be gentle. To not be extremely positive, to be gently positive in order to test this hypothesis. Same with my diet. I need to gently be in an alkaline state, not splurging and then being extreme. Same goes with my fitness. I need to, I'm going to try keeping my heart rate at around 120 beats per minute. I read that was good in the Primal Blueprint, I think it was called. Great book. And just stay there. Just stay at 120 beats per minute and continue it. Keep up the practice so that I build out those capillary highways in my body, and I have this rigor and scaffolding for any splurges that might come my way, but without losing that capacity to live extremely well. So in order to live a great, robust life, I will need to prepare my body to handle a great, robust life at all times, and to be able to handle it gently, because my body is already at such a great state of health, mentally, with my energetic bodies, with my fitness, and with my diet. So let us begin, and hopefully one of these days I will be able to say concretely that I have cured my polycythemia vera by practicing shying away from extremes when my body isn't prepared to handle those extremes, through the 4 areas I just mentioned. So my mental attitude, my energetic awareness in my body, my diet, and then my fitness. Let's go. Let's see how it goes.